Hello, welcome to Real Relationships. In today's podcast, I want to talk to you about attachments, emotional attachments, and these happen between people. I always used to think emotional attachment was a good thing. However, I recently found out it can be a good thing, but it can also be really unhealthy. And the unhealthy part comes from the fact that we have two people and one person is very emotionally attached to, say, Bob, like Big, and then Bob's not very emotionally attached to, say, Wendy. You're going to have a discrepancy, and this is what we're talking about today, that one person is very attached and one person isn't. When the attachment is equal, and usually I found when I checked people it was kind of about the same amount, the relationship was much more healthy. And I think you might want to have a look at some of this. They often say that the attachment is formed when we are small, either from our father or our mother, and I think there's a lot of truth in that. When I went back and kind of had a look at it in my life, I'm pretty sure I had a major emotional attachment to my dad. He had quite a small attachment to me, always with my mother, and my sister was pretty much equal, which was much more balanced. However, having had this very big attachment to my dad meant that all my male relationships and all people who had strong male energy were now going to take on that pattern. So I actually got married and married someone who I can now see I had a very big emotional attachment to them, but they had a small one to me. It's important that you start having a look at this. You'll find it's why with some relationships they go so smooth and they're so good because the attachment's about the same, and then other relationships that you're in, you're like, oh, why do they get to me so much? Why do they get under my skin? Why can't I ever feel nourished from them or like noticed or seen? And it's because the attachment's not right. You can see who they are usually, you can feel it. I always feel that they probably love quite conditionally. They also hold out on you a lot, they'll withdraw, withhold. Sometimes they play power games with you. Often there'll be some abuse in it, especially emotional abuse, because they often be trying to diminish you in the relationship and you'll feel it. And that could be just something that happens in those relationships, but it can also be because the attachments are wrong between you. And you can write this now, and that's what I'm trying to say to you. You can write it. I found what I did was I just saw them and I had a little mental talk to them and said, I'm too attached to you. Mine's really big, like a big dinner plate, and you're attached to me like a little egg cup. This is not good for me or you. And I'm just going to cut the attachment. I just sort of cut the cord. That's how I saw it. And became just not attached to them anymore in that way. It just diminished. It went down small. It's important that you do this work because your relationship is always going to be messed up with them, always. And even if they die, you'll still have that imbalance, and that part will always linger with you. It always stays with you, I think. And also now we don't want to attract relationships that were like a mum or dad or whoever the person was who set us up with that attachment. We don't want that anymore. So we want to be going into equal attachment. When I first got the idea around it, and then I did some research on it, I sort of thought that emotional attachment was good and it means you love each other a lot, blah, blah, blah. I started to realise that no, love is good, but unequal attachment isn't good. Equal attachment is good. And I actually looked at some people around me and sort of thought about it, and I could see that where I was being loved and nourished and equally invested and taken care of, I didn't have that imbalance. It was when I had people who were acting somewhat, in my case, like my dad, that I landed up going into that same pattern. You can do the work on it, you can recognise it now. If you don't know who the people are, I would just do a general go to major people and cut it. People will feel it straight away. It's interesting when you sort of detach from people or whatever, people can feel it, they just sense it, don't they? It's just their gut feeling. And I actually had someone who wrote to me and went, what's going on? Are you okay, kind of thing, and with me, and it was just that they could feel that we'd changed now. I sort of put both of us on the same page, so we were both equal, both two little egg cups, and both loved each other, but it was a much better thing. There's a high level of dependency and wanting and needing when you're in the imbalance. The other thing is that they have a lot of power over you. When you are much more attached to them than they are to you, there's always that power thing they have. They control you more. I've really felt that. So once you make it equal, the power becomes equal, and now equally in the same power position. And I said that in a good way, and that means you're not going to be taken advantage of. And also, I felt with them that they're not going to feel like you're too much or you're too needy or you're too dependent, because now you've made it right. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you landed up with these emotional attachments like this. We get into them and then we tend to heal from it by completely making our life all about them until finally the light switches on and we're like, oh my God, that's what I'm doing and now I need to change it. I feel that your future of your relationships will change because of this. You can have it with your family and you can have it with your kids. You can have it with your friends and people at work. You'll have a feeling about it. And then you can just do this work to detach from it in that way. And when I did it, I detached, cut the cord, detached, told them I'm detaching from you. I didn't ring them up. I just told them mine to mine. And then I sent them lots of love. And I sent our relationship a lot of love because it was good love. It was like unconditional love. And you will find that when you look around, you'll find that people who don't forgive and love conditionally and will not let it go and like to punish, they're going to be your ones that you will have this imbalance with, because that seems to go with the person who doesn't give out much, and so you're trying to go in and get more. I found these relationships are really unnourishing for me, and I always felt somewhat empty, and I always wanted to be close, and they always sort of kept me at bay. But once I did the cut of the cord and I did a bit of work around it, changed the dynamics of it, all of a sudden I felt really great. I felt like, oh, right, sorted that out, now it's equal. And if they come back into the relationship and try it again, I'm like, I'll do the same thing. I'll cut the cord and send love. And even though it's something that people don't talk about, I think this is the basis of why we have relationships that are difficult, and also why we can't let it go, like the feeling of, it's ended, but you're still hanging on. And I think it's our emotional attachment to the relationship. And once we do this, it's easier to vacate the relationship and move on and be in a much more healthy space. I feel it's also worth for us that we are worth being given equal love and equal care and equal investment. And that says a lot about loving ourselves enough to go, you know what, I only want to attract and have people in my life who are going to give the same back along the way. Of course, sometimes if your friend's having a lot of trouble, you'll be doing a lot of giving, and then when you have trouble, they give back. But the attachment doesn't work against you, it actually works for you. I hope you find this helpful. I found it really helpful for me, and finding out and realising it came from my dad, it helped me understand, like with males, in my case, and male energy, I actually went quickly into that unhealthy attachment. It was really interesting for me. It was really fast and quick. And I landed up in my life, I had a lot of men around me in the sense of I had all sons and I got married, obviously. I had a husband in my life and then my dad. And I found that way it was really interesting for me because I kept feeling that it was like a lesson for me that I had to learn, and now kind of learned it, and it's going to be better and it's going to be more equal. I just sent a lot more love because I was a little uncomfortable when I first did it. It's like, oh, I want to be attached to you because I love you, and then I realised, no, you can be attached, but not so differently, not like me, bread and butter plate, them like a little cup. That wasn't good for either of us, and I think it also gives the other person more space and it makes you stand more like equal. You'll find this interesting if you start doing it in your life, and look, she explains some of your relationships too and why you always land up, you feel like you're on the back foot with certain people, and that's because of this imbalance. Have fun doing it. If you're not sure who they are, I just do it with the ones you're not quite sure about, but I think you're probably going to find you'll know who they are, and that'll be easy for you to do this let's practice and get everything a little bit more healthy and a little bit more equal. So I hope you have a good week, and I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light.